Hello, on this latest episode of the Black Soldier Fly Leaders podcast, I have with me someone who I have mentioned in a previous episode when talking about the Chinese black soldier fly industry. So let me introduce Ruilong Zheng. I hope I've pronounced that right. Ruilong, how you doing?
Hey David, thanks for the introduction and its very nice pronunciation. I wouldn't expect more. Thanks for inviting me here. And yes, indeed, it's a great honor to be here with you today. And let's follow up on what you have mentioned earlier and to look deeper into the Chinese industry today. Also, share a bit of my views on how this industry can have a bright future. Um, let's start.
Cool, positivity. That's a good place to start from. First of all, the first question I ask all of my guests is: can you tell us how you landed into the black soldier fly industry in the first place?
That's a really good question. I have the feeling that my fate is a little bit connected to BSF since a long time. Say I grew up in a place called Wuhan. I guess I don't need to further introduce the city now because the whole world knows the name.
World famous.
Very famous place. A place changed a lot of people's life. Wuhan is somehow the capital of the academia of BSF of China in terms of CRISPR uh, BSF strains, in terms of waste management, because of Huazhong Agricultural University is the center of the BSF research in China. And coincidentally, I graduated from that place. I did my bachelor in that place. The second Insect Feed the World conference was organized in that university as well. And that's exactly the moment I graduated. Um, Afterwards, I went to Wageningen University in the Netherlands to study animal nutrition. In the very beginning, I was not even thinking about I'm gonna do BSF or something. I was thinking about okay, I'm gonna do animal feed. Maybe I'll work for pigs or maybe I'll work for chicken. And when we were choosing thesis, we need to find a supervisor. I was around into the gentleman called Dennis Onyx, another big name in the industry. Well, and from that moment onward, I stepped into the BSF industry, and fortunately, I developed quite some knowledge before the season starts. Like everything I learned about animal nutrition helped me a lot for the nutrition, how to do a right diet for the larvae, how to boost the growth, how to use the least amount of money to grow the largest amount of larvae. This is whole concept of animal nutrition. It really helped my career in the later stage. And it's also when I entered the BSF industry, I realized, okay, actually I'm graduated from a place where the BSF was a big topic, which is my bachelor university, which it somehow is connected, you know. Afterwards, I did my internship in Protix. I managed to stay in Protix of my internship. That was 2020, when Wuhan was the most famous city of the world. It's not easy to find a job, and I was really lucky. I got a nutritionist job in Protix, and I stayed on that position for 5 years. I left this year in June and becoming a freelancer because I feel like I can contribute more to the industry now, and the industry at this moment needs me to provide something to make it different. Well, I think that's basically how I landed in the BSF industry, and I also believe that it's not a coincidence because let's say when we were kids, other children may just watching cartoon or playing some toys for the whole day, okay? And for me, since when I was 4 year old, I was just gonna bring 2 cubes of candy and bring a chair, go into the garden, and throw the candy in front of the nest of the ant, and observing the behavior of the ant for, let's say, 3 4 hours. The whole afternoon will be gone. And at that moment, I know that I wanted to work with animals, and maybe I want to work with insects. So when the opportunity came, it's like, okay, I can choose pigs, I can choose chicken, I can choose BSF. I choose the insect side without any hesitation because it's inside of me.
Oh, fantastic. And at Wuhan, you did your bachelor's in animal nutrition as well as in Wageningen as well.
Actually, not. In Wuhan, I did my bachelor in biotechnology,
Okay.
because that was most, let's say, the reputation of that institute of Hajong Agricultural University. They have the greatest reputation. Okay, so basically, if you study in that institute, they can guarantee you a master's study right after your bachelor study.
Okay.
So I
And
started.
biotechnology, can you use
Yes.
some of that learnings in the industry you're in now?
From there, I did got in touch with professors such as Ruilong Zheng, which made a lot of publication in the industry. But that study is mostly focused on molecular biology, how to do GMO, etc. I was not fascinated about it. That's why for the last 2 years of my study during my bachelor's, I started to switch all my courses to the animal science department, and then
Okay.
I made a bridge to animal nutrition, and afterwards I made a bridge to insect nutrition.
Okay, so there's quite a clear pathway into insect nutrition, which is interesting. And you were a nutritionist at Protix for quite a while, in the grand scheme of the black soldier fly industry, anyway. Um, could you tell us a bit about your experiences at Protix, please?
Protix really gave me a privilege in developing my knowledge. Many thanks to Protix, actually. So back in the days, I think I was fortunate enough to be on the front line of production for almost 5 years, let's say. Protix opened up the big factory in 2019, and I think is operating, like officially operating in 2020 after the construction and everything. I joined Protix in 2020. And the early beginning, I was at the old site where most people moved to the new sites. So somehow I have a empty production site in front of me. I can just check everything and see how everything works to understand how is the current system were developed. Like I see the prototype. Now you have the commercial type. I see the prototype, and we were able. And then during that time, the R&D facility in the new factory was not set it up. So I have the entire old facility that I can study and I can run tests inside. And from there, I started to know, like, okay, you can actually rear larvae from a really simple setup, which is a lot of people, like this part, most people in projects wouldn't know it because they directly join the new site. And from that point, we still have the silo, we have all these possibilities, all the facilities to make the feed, make the workflow. So it opened up a lot of possibilities for me to explore. Okay, I can get ingredient from A, I got ingredient from B. This one is really sticky. The other one is hard solid. The second one is super liquid. It's like water. And how I can play with the texture and how would that impact the larvae activity. Okay, I started everything from there. I gained a lot of knowledge from there. And after 1 year and 1.5 year, actually, I moved to the new sites. And the moment I landed there, I'm starting to be exposed to the production problems. For example, okay, we have crazy ammonia. The operators are complaining about it. What can we do about it? Okay, today the pump is not working. Can we play around the dry matter to make it work without damaging the production efficiency, without causing crawl out of the larvae, etc. We start to getting exposure of all these kind of practical problems. And the R&D department I stayed in is more of like a, let's say, more than half of my time I'm a problem solver. Like I see problem in the factory, I run some trial, I come up with a solution, we do it. So it allowed me to know a lot of operational experience and how to solve the problems. And on the other part, I was able to develop my feed calculator, understanding what is the best nutritional profile of the larvae to grow as big as possible. And then, of course, you bring all this ingredient and the nutritional profile into a calculator with their price. And you, with all these prices, you're going to make a predictions of how much larvae you can produce with how much money. And of course, you're going to run validation tests. If it's running good, you need to spend time to implement it in the factory, help the operators to understand how it works, what's the difference, what's the impact it's gonna be on the climate setting, how much it would influence our pump, can our pipes handle it? So I would say I was in a really privileged position to really understand how black soldier fly farming works, and of course from that I understand the concept, and also allowed me to understand how good is a system when I'm looking at it, and it helped me a lot when, for the past 2 years, when I'm watching the system the Chinese has built, I can directly see from, okay, if you do things this way, the larvae may die. If you do things that way, maybe they're gonna be dehydrated. All this knowledge I gained in Protix is priceless, and I really appreciate the time and the experience I have gained during the Protix time.
Wow, I've got like 1,000 questions from that. That was awesome. um, first of all, so you've worked from the prototype stage into the larger factory. Do you see major differences in the problems that you get in a prototype versus the problems you get in a larger? Or for example, if can you get something perfect in the prototype that just doesn't work on a larger scale?
But let's say we know that we are using the crate system in Protix. Okay,
Hmm.
I do believe that like if you have, I say, 10 crates to run, okay, and you make it bigger, make it 100, maybe it's still okay. But the moment you make it 10,000, I think it's gonna be some difficulties, because you need to really do a lot of, you need to really push the engineering team to work very hard to make sure, okay, there's homogeneity in the climate, and the capacities is okay. If you want to design something with certain airflow, can you even have enough airflow for all these crates? I think uh, the reason why we have a prototype is the prototype can help you evaluate how it's gonna be to build a bigger facility. And once you build a big facility, I think it's a big challenge for the engineers, because all the capacities needs to go up, and they also want to control the cost. I think that's the main difference. But of course, the whole reason of you having a prototype factory is to make your bigger factory successful. So that's the goal.
Yeah, yes, of course. It, I guess the question was more around that kind of scaling up, like scaling up the prototype to the larger scale, and the problems that many companies have faced as a result. But it sounds like you've gone along that improvement curve personally. Do you feel like Protix also went along that curve massively, and everyone there must have so much knowledge of how to grow black soldier fly because of all of these crazy challenges that they've faced?
I think so. I think so. Like all the people who went through, let's say, was staying in Protix from 2019 till 2022, I think they experienced that.
Yes, yes. So, in terms of nutrition, what do you find as the most important things? So we're talking quite technically here, and I'm not just talking about the kind of macronutrition, but perhaps also you mentioned the texture, so physical properties, maybe even chemical properties. I'm not sure, but yeah, talk to me about that.
I think the texture is the most important thing, because with really thick texture, I think Martin actually published something, or at least he showed it in the conferences. Martin, no, from Reploid now, used to be
Yeah,
with knowledge. Of course, in his research, he realized that if you have really like a thick feed for insect, it's very likely you're gonna get a lot of heat production in the end, because of the microbial activity, and that is gonna poses that poses a lot of threat to your climate system because cooling takes money. You need to be able, or so either you have really strong fan to blow all the heat away, so you cool them down, or you need to have cooling compartment, which means air condition or any kind of things. So it's really energy intense. It doesn't make any sense. And
Yes, there was one person I spoke to who was in Finland. I think we know the Finnish producers or providers anyway, and saying that even in basically the Arctic Circle, where Santa Claus is from, um, it, they were cooling it. So it just showcases how much focus you need on heating, but also cooling. Anyway, I
yeah,
interrupted you. Sorry.
of course, exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest thing of actually. Okay, let's go enter another angle. Okay, I think the cooling thing is what is challenging. Why do we need such a crazy Rarian density at this point? Because higher the density, the more heat it will be produced, and which meaning you need to spend more, either more energy or you need a bigger land just to let them cool down. From my point of view, I think even though some places they have very expensive land, and I still don't believe, like I personally don't believe we need to put the revenue density that high, because we just need to calculate the finance, calculate how much is for cooling, how much is for the land. I'm personally am more biased to the theory that high density doesn't it's not worth it because because you mostly build your factory in a sub area, like in the corner of the city or in the corner of the sub area of the city. So the land should be cheaper. Otherwise, people will complain about your smell and etc. So, let's say cooling is a big problem, and the rearing density maybe it's better to go lower. That's my personal view. And we go back to the topic about texture. Okay, thick texture may produce a lot of heat, and thin texture is very watery, and the chance of crowd will be increased. So first, you need to
Ruilong,
figure
sorry to introduce you. What do you mean by thin texture?
watery. Let's say watery. Like let's
Okay,
say you put them on a viscometer. The viscometer show you a low value.
okay. So for all of the listeners' understanding, but most for mine, um, there's a difference between watery and moisture content, right? Because a carrot, for example, is hard, is solid object, but it's
Hmm.
90% moisture. But something can
Yeah.
be very watery, there's a separation between the solid and the water. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Basically, you can have something with very low dry matter but really solid. You can also have something, let's say, even a 40% dry matter inside, but they look super liquid.
So,
Like
so then, what's the
dry matter, dry matter content is not directly connected to the texture.
okay? So what's more important then, the wateriness for layman's terms, or the moisture?
The first one, because what we are focusing here is to make sure they don't crawl out.
And they
And
crawl out because of the higher wateriness.
the thing is, the larvae can only crawl up, like vertically on the moist surface. And if you have a lot of like water staying on, floating on the top of your substrate, it will be easier for the larvae to go out. And
Okay.
it's their nature to walk around. It's either you have really warm feet and it's very cold outside and then they want to stay in the warm place, and maybe you can have more tolerance to the watery substrate,
Hmm.
or or you know it's like a similar temperature, like from outside inside, and it's very watery inside. It's okay. I feel comfortable staying here. I feel comfortable staying there. Then they're gonna come out, and you don't want the larvae to come out because if they crawl out, they're gonna become like if they're big, they're gonna become pupae. They're gonna fly around. It's gonna be annoying, and also it's not gonna end up in your output of your product. It just loss. Okay. That's the texture, I think. Any questions?
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I just stir my substrate when it's too watery, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people do mix it. Is that the best way to reduce that problem?
That's definitely a way to go, but the dry ingredient is always expensive. And then, okay, so can you find a cheap ingredient and it's allowed by law? Okay, that's a question. For example, you can go to slaughtery house. You can say, okay, I want the hair of the pig, and I'm gonna grind it. And then you have really like of dry stuff. You can absorb a lot of water, and you put it in. Okay, it works. But EU will not allow you to do that. Never. UK will not allow you to do that. Forget it.
Mm.
You cannot even use sawdust in the commercial production, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the regulation in the West is a little bit retarded, but anyway, we know that. Everybody knows that. And then what kind? And then I think some Chinese people did develop this funny system. The bottom of the crate is a mesh, so
Okay.
the excess water will drip one layer, one layer, one layer till the bottom. They have a collection trench,
Ah,
and it goes away.
and does that
So
work?
it works really well, actually.
Really?
So yeah. Like all the excess water will just be dripping, dripping, dripping until the bottom, and the
Really?
larvae stay. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it works.
And then,
The
and then
factory.
actually, what you've got at the bottom is probably a really nutritious kind of tea that you can spread on land as a liquid fertilizer. I don't know, perhaps.
I totally agree with you. But okay, for their case, they don't care because it's waste management.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got, let's say they, like this company, they got 130 tons of garbage, like catering waste garbage from the city every day, and the Chinese sorting is a joke. So in the garbage you can see chopsticks, plastics, glass, anything you can see in the restaurant, you name it, you can see all of them inside.
Okay.
And
And
the
and
purity
we'll,
the
we'll
purity of the organic matter is low, and then after that you got a 50 tons of the slurry, and their job is to get rid of the slurry for the government. And of
yeah.
course, we're gonna leak a lot of water away, but they don't care. They just want to deal with the slurry.
So
It
they're
works.
they're on a government contract basically.
Yeah.
Rulong, we'll come on to China in a bit, but let's go back to nutrition. So you were talking about the difference between the physical and the biological aspects of the feedstock. So what else have you got to share there?
I mean, I think nutritional profile is very important because with bad nutrition, the larvae wouldn't grow well. You need a balanced diet and also consider the price. And I don't think we can always do the optimal nutritional profile for the larvae because of the limiting of the prices and the availability and the volume of what is possible locally. But we should calculate the trade-off and then aim for what is the suboptimal option and apply it.
Yeah, okay. What I have problems understanding or how we're going to overcome it, it's a challenge with the industry, is if you're taking in proper waste, maybe it's council food waste or I don't know what it is, but you might get a lot of seasonality in that waste, and so you get a lot of variances and differences. And as that changes, your product output is going to be different, right? How in your view, do you manage that?
I think we should firstly focusing on what is the seasonality. If we say we're taking the restaurant waste, okay, waste. Seasonality might be the vegetables because some vegetables belongs to the spring, mushrooms in autumn, and
Hmm.
winter you have winter vegetables.
Hmm.
But what is the content of the vegetables is water plus some plus fiber. Some of them has a little bit additional sugar. That's it. So as a nutritionist, it's basically the same thing for me. It may result in something different in terms of texture. I mean, the pork you eat in spring wouldn't be different with the pork you eat in winter, right? And the rice or the bread, they're just high content of carbohydrate. They're basically the same following the season. The only thing I see that will vary a lot is the vegetable. So in that sense, maybe the seasonality is not a big challenge. And what would be the big challenge is that if some region they have this habit to eat more meat in summer, eat less meat in winter, that would be a challenge. And then I think we need to build a database to make like to do record of okay, how this gonna be, what is the average in January, what's the average in February. We have this data, and then we say okay, I can compensate this diet with this, compensate with that in another month. And it takes maybe 1 or 2 years to stabilize an entire production line, but I think it will work.
Yeah, and I guess if insect farming was to become a thing in the future, in the mainstream, and perhaps we would have different grades of black soldier fly protein or oil or whatever it is, a bit like we have in arable farming. Well, all kinds of farming, but in arable farming, depending on the harvest of that year, it greatly influences the weather, and all of the other factors greatly influence the quality. And so, your wheat might go for um, pasta or for bread or whatever, or it might just go to animal feed because it doesn't quite make the cut. And that's the challenge that they're dealing with, and that will be the challenge that insect farmers have to deal with. And perhaps that's where it will go. Um, Rulong, moving on. So you recently organised and hosted a conference in China. Can you tell me a bit about that and how it went? And before you do, congratulations for organising it. I hear it went really, really well.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Actually, I did hoped. Um, I'm not organizing it myself. I worked with the Chinese association to do it. I did hope they would reduce the content of the traditional Chinese stuff, like getting the senior people to give talks and five people talking about the same shit. I didn't like that, but I think the part I helped to organize was, I mean, I am happy with it. So before I stepped into this, I have a friend called Jorge. He used to be working for Protix as well. He's an expert in doing processing, like how to do wet rendering, how to do dry rendering of the protein meal. That's my friend. He told me something like, "Hey, you're doing this now. Can you make it less academia? I don't want to go to a conference to hear people talking about how to make a cookie out of insect meal. I want to, I want to see how you develop a BSF industry."
Hmm.
And I said, "Okay, thanks for the advice. I will keep that in mind, and I will not let you down." So the entire entire conference is super industrial, and that's a starting point.
Sure. And just to be clear, we want academics, don't we? But we also want people in the industry, and we want a mix, and we want us all to get on, don't we?
I think what Jorge meant is like you want the academians to also talk about how to boost efficiency, not talking about some product we will not see on the market in 20 years or something.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. Starting from there, then I was looking at the schedule. I was like, why are you guys just arrange it 3 months before it will happen? This is gonna cut everybody off guard because people mostly plan their visits or their conference a year before. But it's very typically Chinese. Is I think the cultural thing. The Chinese like to just do something, and they like to arrange something in on a short period of time. Go there, finish it, and go home. That's really cultural. I understand. And I look at it as like, okay, I want to make this something important. I want to help the industry to go forward. This is a year we see a lot of bankruptcy, a lot of bad news coming into the industry. I was looking at it as like, okay, China is a place where BSF is actually making, let's say, positive money, or let's say they're profitable. And can we, you know, can I expose this part to the rest of the world? I think it will be important for the industry now. Then I look at it as like, okay, what do people want to see? They want to see how the production is done there, and you will not see that in a conference. That's why I had a lot of calls, a lot of negotiations with the association and the other company to say, hey, can you arrange a tour for the people to just to take a look? Because you don't need to show them commercial details, but people want to know how it can be done. And you guys are claiming you can make a lot of money. You should let people know it. And then, firstly, it helps you to sell your products, and secondly, it helps you to sell your solutions, your BSF systems. It's going to be good for you, and the people want to see that, and it's going to get attention. I think it's a win-win for almost everybody.
And also, when you've got people from over the world in the black soldier fly industry coming to look at your factory or site, they can give you loads of information as to how you can do it better, right? And that's the beauty of knowledge sharing. It's there's win-win, and I think the industry needs a lot more of it, a lot more. And this is great. Carry on.
Yeah, exactly. That's so. I think I made maybe 20 calls during that, like 2 or 3 days, and okay, I got a bunch of company agreed. Okay, we are gonna host them. We're gonna invite them for meal. It's very kind of them actually, and we want to have discussions about what to do. And we want to help the global industry, not only for themselves. I think a lot of them are great people. They worked in BSF for 10, 20 years. They want to see it grow. And then, of course, it's better for their pocket because if you can sell your system, it's good for you. I mean, okay, then we agreed on that. And then I made a really tight schedule for the people to visit. I think in the beginning, the association people was like, why are you pushing people so hard? I was like, a lot of people who come to see what it is, they're going to have a very senior position in the company. They have a lot of things to do. If you don't make it tight, they wouldn't show up. Okay, then basically we're just traveling the whole time without sleeping, and everybody got sick in the end. But we managed to see a lot of factories. Yeah, that's what's the starting point. We got 2 tours. Like we do, like I think 4 sites visiting before the conference. Then you do 2 days conference, and you have another 3 sites visiting. So that was an entire week.
Wow,
Um, yeah,
that sounds awesome. Sounds like there's so much to learn there from all sides, and the tours sound great. And perhaps we need to do that somewhere else, not just China. I hear India's got a booming industry. I don't know that. I just hear it. I know for sure that East Africa, where I went there, South Africa, there's loads going on in those countries, um, and in Europe as well. There's obviously a lot of attention on Europe, a lot of investment. But unfortunately, in Europe, there doesn't seem to be that much of an open dialogue around opening doors and things, and it's a shame really, and I think we should. Dean Smorenberg was episode 4 of this. Sorry, episode 3 of my podcast, and he said to me, and he said to me a few times, this isn't a winner takes all industry, and so if it's not winner takes all, then we should actually be sharing what we're doing, and the headroom for growth in this industry. If we want to be serious and compete with soy, well, soy is billions of pounds, and we're millions, if that. There's so much headroom to go into. So why are we trying to keep everything to ourselves? I get the strong IP, but most stuff really isn't IP. It's just how you do business. It's how you get funding. It's the network you make and the products and sales you develop. That's it really. It's just standard business doing it well. But yeah, so and from the feedback, what did you find in that was most valuable from your attendees? Was it the conference or was it the visits?
I think for me it's a visit. And let's just be really honest, I was not really like super paying a lot of attention during the conference because before the conference starts, I arranged like 5 sections, like talking about different parts of the industry and how you do it. You got a mixture of academia people and industry people. And the way we do the conference are also different. It's basically everybody have 5 to 10 minutes to talk about their stories, about what they want to share. and afterwards you're gonna get 7 to 10 people sitting on the stage, do a panel talk, everybody discussing everything with each other. That's basically how it's done for every section, and that is a great idea from the Chinese Association. Actually, I was not convinced in the beginning, but I think it's a great credit to them. I think that it's very different with what we see in the normal conferences. Normally, you get like every section you got 3 person talking about a presentation, then people starts to fall asleep, and the Chinese one it really helps to stay concentrated. I think that was great. Um, and before that, before the conference starts, I can read the content of everybody's like a material for the conference, and everybody's super industrial. Even the Chinese academia, they are super industrial because the Chinese professors, they're really practical people. They know that they earn much more money from the industry by being a consultant, so they are super industrial. Um, so I kind of know the content already. That's why I didn't pay that much attention during the conference. But here's what's my takeaway from the entire tool. I think they gave me a way of thinking. They teach me a way of thinking. They You could grow the insect in a pit. You just digging a pit on the ground. It's possible to produce that.
As in just on the floor with a
Yeah.
small concrete barrier or something.
Yes, and we call them pit farms. And that way of production, let's say, is very agricultural. It's like you growing crops in the field. Okay, super agricultural. And a lot of Chinese systems, I think this is the review from Paul Hillman from Entocycle.
Okay.
He said, I can see the trace of them automated everything from a manual experience. I was like, well, that's such a nice description about it. Like, it is.
Say that again, Ruilong, sorry?
The Chinese systems are a result of automation from the manual way of production.
Okay. So,
Thinking about you were doing pit farms,
yeah.
and now you have 2-layer pit farms, 3-layer pit farm, and then you get rid of all the problems, and in the end, you made it automated. That's how the system there was developed.
So
And
the
you
pit.
see,
So sorry for my misunderstanding. The pits eventually have been layered on top of each other, or
no,
side by
let's
side.
let's say we visited companies, and you have the companies who, like, of course, multi-layer rearing with their automate like a full automated
Like a
system.
vertical farming one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a Just like a builder in better insect solution, you have like multiple layers of BSF production. And of course, the Chinese ones look very different with the European ones. Um, Paul Hillman, he's a great engineer, of course. That's why the way he thinks about it is fascinating. He starts thinking about how the system, like where's the idea of the system coming from? And he said, okay, they basically automated how can you produce larvae manually. And I think that's a really great description. And
Mm.
it is. And of course, this is just a different pathway of how you develop a system. And they're just cheaper, let's say. And of course, okay, and we go back to the topic. In the beginning, I said you can grow BSF in an agricultural way. And now we also see the chance that you can grow it in an industrial way. Because let's just check the factory of Protix, Innova, Agronutris, Enorm, like all of them, they're just it's industrial. It's no longer agricultural.
Hmm.
They taught me something like, okay, when you look into an industrial product, there's 2 factors that is most important. The first factor is the stability of production, the stability of your quality, the stability of the quality of the product. That's the stability side.
Hmm.
Second is cost. This is really Chinese mindset. Like, just look at how they produce the cars and everything plastic or everything like made in China is based on these 2 mindset. That's how you were able to produce cheap, and how you're able to produce in large volume. and how you are able to compete on the globalization environment. And of course, they are putting this mindset into the BSF farming, the industrialized BSF farming as well. And I learned it. I learned this mindset from them. I said, okay, that's the reason why you are producing your larvae so cheap and you're selling your larvae so cheap, and that is why your BSF system is so cheap. It's totally from this mindset. That's the beginning point of it. I think that's the biggest learning for me.
Could could um, could someone in the Netherlands do it at the same cost? Okay, actually, forget the price of feedstock because that's regulatory. We're talking about automation. Could someone in the Netherlands do it if they had the same feedstock price?
I think it's hard.
Why?
So let's say the Chinese system are heavily relying on metals. So
In
the
terms
metal
of
price,
the setup?
the factory, the equipment, the Chinese barely use plastics besides Inspro. Inspro is using plastic trays, and almost everybody else is using iron, iron stuff like big, gigantic crates with like a 6 square meters surface and entirely like a stainless steel. And
Okay.
so just from the material perspective, it's already not possible. And then you can think about the Chinese was allowed to use the groundwater for cooling, which will be really hard to get a permit in the West. And they were allowed to do many things the West wouldn't allow you to do. For example, it's regulation. Like the Netherlands, you have a lot of talks about nitrogen emission.
Yes, yeah, and so you can't get planning permission to actually to do anything because of that.
I find it hard. I find it hard. Yeah. Or you need to invest a lot of money on a gas washer. That's money.
Yes, yeah, energy prices, planning permission restrictions, feedstock regulations, labor cost. I mean, it all kind of adds up. So actually, if how are we going to compete in places like Europe or even North America, in places where the price of all of this stuff in China is just next to nothing? I mean, for wild bird feed, for example, we import all of our mealworm and black soldier fly larvae, cowsea worms we call it, from China.
Sure.
There is a few niche kind of value added products from the UK where customers value a British product, but in this country, but generally it's just wild bird feed from China, and people generally, I'd say, don't care. So how can we compete? Is it and so perhaps in my view, it's we the competition comes from circular economy and it's from waste processing, because you can't outsource waste processing. Well, you can, but it's expensive to send a load of organic stuff to China to sort out, and it probably does happen in certain cases. But if you've got a lump of organic material to sort out, then perhaps black soldier fly is the answer. However, if you are providing a protein source via insect protein from as black soldier flies, then the cheapest would probably be from somewhere like China or East Africa or Southeast Asia.
I think it could be Europe actually, because we were talking without mentioning the feed cost price, and China actually, okay, the Chinese BSF industry started in they spiked in 2018 when there's African swine fever.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the catering waste are not allowed to go to the pigs anymore, and the government needs to get rid of the catering waste, and that gives the soil to grow the tree of BSF. That was it. And Chinese people in their nature, they're really competitive, and they want to take resource, they want to occupy the market. And today, you have over maybe around 1,000 BSF companies in China now.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and you can see how much competition there would be nowadays. So in the beginning, you take a ton of the catering waste away, the government will compensate you with a little bit money. Nowadays, they are sometimes spending over 40 euros to buy a ton of catering waste. It's ridiculous.
Right. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I believe if EU or UK makes possible, maybe they're gonna compensate you with 80 euro, maybe 100 euro per ton. Just take the garbage, help me with the problem.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
I think we can break the price down. I don't see the end of it. I think it's very helpful. The
But
Chinese,
then,
they make,
sorry, you go.
yeah, please.
Well, I mean, yes, because the UK might say £80 a ton, whatever. Black soldier flies come in and process it, make a load of money. People see that, and then suddenly we've got 1,000 black soldier fly companies like China, and then those black soldier fly companies will then be paying the £40 a ton rather than gaining £80. It's this. It's just market mechanics, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any garbage. The moment any garbage become a resource, the price will go up. I
Yeah,
think that's common.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But at least I think in that sense, we will be able to already establish certain volume for the market, and you will be able to negotiate better with the feed producers because it's okay. I have so much larvae, you're gonna have like a security of the supply. And I think we could do more on the market side, and of course, people in the West in general they care more about sustainability. In general they don't like to just buy stuff from all the way shipping from Asia to here. So I think there's a few like cultural barrier, tariff, the best word, tariff, and the local production. I think it's not gonna be so easy for the Chinese to totally replace what can be done in the West, but the regulation is the key.
In the West, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because also if China is taking the catering waste, then you couldn't export it to the UK or the West, could you?
Where do you think the the BSF for the white bird is coming from?
Okay,
This is
sorry, for wild bird you can. So there's no
mm,
regulations around that, which is crazy because wild birds are the ones who spread things like avian flu. Um, but 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 for commercial farming, you wouldn't be able to use black soldier fly larvae from China if it's been fed on catering waste or manures or whatever it might be.
I think we should check where you're gonna use it for, and my personal opinion would be focusing on open up the regulation in EU instead of blocking China, because I think if you open up the regulation in EU, it will be good for the industry. We will be able to produce cheaper. We will be able to increase the volume of production, and we will be able to compete with China. When you are competing with someone, you can either grow strong yourself or you can make them shrink. And to make China shrink, I find it hard because you say I don't want your BSF. I'm gonna put a tariff on it, and they say okay, then I don't want your pork. I don't want your beef. I'm gonna put tariff on you. Then it's not healthy. And I think we should focus on ourselves and just grow stronger ourselves.
This is an entirely different podcast. I think we need to be going on the rest is politics or something when we're talking tariffs. But yeah, I agree. So which companies are the ones to watch in China? And yeah,
You mean the good companies in China?
yes, ideally, yeah.
I think Inspro is good. Weilanxin is good. Unique is good. Um, I mean, I can go to details, of course. Weilanxin and Inspro, they both have a good collaboration with the local government. Namely, okay, Weilanxin has a collaboration with the government. The government say, okay, this entire region of the catering waste will go to you every day. It's 130 tons per day. You have to deal with it because if you don't deal with it, it's gonna be in your parking lot. Good luck with that.
Oh, they've got
It's
good
a
pitches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why they designed a whole system that is super sturdy. They made the mechanical part, like the movement of the machine, as little as possible, and they try to separate all the machine and the rowing section as much as possible. The factory started to work in 2023 October. Until now, they don't have any stop over 8 hours. It's keep on running. Otherwise, the government will kill them. And in China, it's not going to be a joke.
So how does that work in China? What's the how do people get contracts, or how much money is the government really putting into this industry?
Let's say the factory they build, they got help from the government. Like when you are buying equipment from the suppliers, the government will help you to push the price down because they're the government. I know. I don't care about political correctness here. Like Chinese government is pushy and squeezing the people. I think we know it, and they need this permit or the authority from the government to say all this catering waste go to you, not going to somebody else. Because I think it's a case for most of the waste resources, because you need people to be responsible for the waste. Otherwise, people just dump it in the river. It's really bad. So they got that help, and they got a help with fundraise from the government, because that was one of the first facilities they built that can help the city to deal with the catering waste. They built such a complicated system. Complicated here means good. So the catering waste comes in, like I mentioned earlier, they have chopsticks and everything. They need to sort it out. They're gonna use 80-degree water to wash it. They reuse this wastewater again and again, day after day after day. From that, they can extract around 10% of oil, because of it's located in Chengdu. Like Sichuan province, they eat very oily cuisine, and they're gonna sell the biodiesel. The oil they extracted will be sold as
Wow.
biodiesel. That's the first batch of profit they earn. Okay. And then all the excess wastewater they use to process their feed will go into a fermentation tank to produce biogas. And they're going to use the biogas for the electricity of the factory, and like they have the whole dried larvae. They're going to use the gas to burn the gas to dry the larvae in the end. So basically, they don't need extra energy for the entire plant. And actually, they need to burn a lot of gas because the location is a little bit close to a bridge, and they don't want an explosion. So they're really sustainable, okay? And then from the 130 tons of waste, you can get 50 tons of like a slurry for the larvae. And then you grow the larvae and you get whole dried larvae out of it. You can sell it. That's basically the system they built. It take quite some money back in the days, but it worked really well for now. People are happy with it. Now they build their second factory, which is a cheaper version. They want to make it as cheap as possible. I've been to both factories. I think they did a great job there. And Inspro as well, which is Elvis. Elvis has this good relationship with the Shenzhen government. They built like the crate system next to a location where people just dump their catering waste as well. So
Okay.
it's different system but similar story. And then unique in China, they produce a lot of black soldier fly eggs, and they are if one of the automated system doesn't have their own egg supply, it's very likely they source their BSF eggs from unique, because stability and homogeneity of their product. It's definitely interesting. They built quite some factories
Sorry,
all over the
Ruilong.
place.
On
Yes.
Unique, if I've got
Mhm.
that right. Do
Mhm.
they sell their eggs just in China? Do they?
For now, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think they are really eager to sell to the West, because the price will be lower, and it will make more sense for them. And they're also looking. They're looking for partners to build their egg system all around the world.
Oh,
They
really?
want to have this expansion step. So yeah, like anyone interested, feel free to talk to them, or let me help you to reach out to them. I'm
Well,
happy to do so.
yeah, Ruilong. If you share your contact details, I can put them in the show notes, or they can reach out to you on LinkedIn as well, right?
Yeah. Reach out to me on LinkedIn is always possible, and I can also give my email later
Yeah,
if that's the way to do.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's
And then you were talking about is it Shenzhen?
Xinmei. Xinmei is
MA, sorry.
yeah, Xinmei is another company. They have built facilities for catering waste, for distiller grains, and I think they're currently having project in Nigeria and Mexico. I think they're interesting people to work with too.
So do they sell their tech? They've created a production system and technology, and they've sold it to Nigeria. They sold it to Mexico.
Yeah, I see it like a builder-ish company, like provide solutions or provide training for operation, but they're not running. Is they not the owner of
Okay,
the system?
okay.
The other guys are they are the owner of the systems.
Yes, and they produce themselves. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's this guy company called 虫老大. They are claiming of to process 1 ton of waste per day. The investment capex is, let's say, 20,000 pounds, something like that.
Is that it?
Yeah. And they told me they just sealed a deal in Kazakhstan, 100 ton per day. They say they are gonna finish building it by December. I think in half a year we can ask them how it's been doing, and we will have more data about how good they are.
Oh, good.
Um,
We'll have to get you on the podcast in half a year then.
let's see if I will be able to travel to there. I mean, there's also in China. Now that China is having this crazy relationship with USA, they don't want to buy soybeans from the USA anymore.
Yeah.
They're saying, okay, maybe we should put the catering waste back to the pig feed. All in a sudden, all the Chinese is just to use the chicken menu to rear insect. So there's also a company called Future Protein who's focusing on using the chicken menu to grow larvae. This different kind of concept, and it's emerging. I think in 1 year or half a year, we will have more understanding of how it's going to be. Actually, during the tour, I was talking to the boss of one of the sites we visited. He said, "Yeah, this guy is so great. He just came to me. He said, just use my equipment. I'm not going to charge you anything. If it works well, you can give me money. If it doesn't work well, I will take my equipment away." That's what he said. I was like, okay, I didn't know anyone does business like that, but good for you. So
So he
yeah, people's doing
could have
yeah,
taken the equipment and ran.
potentially, but I mean, it shows some confidence in processing the chicken menu from the perspective. I wish him a good success.
But yes, but then I mean, what's the difference between processing chicken manure and catering waste? Is there much?
It's quite different.
In what way? In what way?
Chicken menu is less watery, starting from there, and the chicken menu produce much more. Like they have uric acid, and you're gonna produce much more ammonia,
Hmm.
and then the larvae will grow much smaller because it's not so much it's not a really good nutrient for that.
Hmm.
And also people see it differently. I think it's very challenging because for catering waste, even in terms of pathogens, for the catering waste, oil catering waste, because of they were being processed from the garbage to the slurry, that we went to 80-degree temperature. Then it's kind of like how you reserve your milk. Let's say.
So it's been pasteurized or sterilized or something to a
Yeah,
point
exactly.
already. Could you do that with
Uh,
the chicken manure though?
no, you wouldn't do anything with chicken menu because why would you heat it up? You want to smell good or something?
Well, to kill pathogens and things.
uh, well, I don't see people doing that yet.
No.
Um,
Okay. Fine.
so I think there will be challenges on the pathogen. Also I think more larvae will die from the chicken menu comparing to how much larvae will die from the catering waste. So
Mm, yeah.
and also the catering waste will produce a lot of heat. Chicken manure, we don't know. It's I think some people know it more than I do,
Yeah. Okay.
but I do see that's more challenging than what is possible now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's you look at biogas or AD, and some AD plants take catering waste, and some AD plants take manures, whether it's slurry, pig slurry, cattle manure, or chicken manure. Some take a mix of everything really, and those guys will know better than anyone, I imagine,
Mm-hmm.
how to deal with
Yes,
these things and the bacterial differences between all of those products.
I think Ruilong Zheng, the professor in Huazhong Agricultural University, he knows it really well. Because he's involved in like dozens of projects related to that. I highly
What's his
recommend
name?
it.
Sorry.
Long Yu Zheng. Actually very similar to mine. I'm Ruilong Long. So Long and Yu, YU, and same family name.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'll have to reach out to him. Um, okay. And so moving on from China, um, what exactly are you doing now? So you've been to China and you know those guys really well. How are you connecting with the industry now?
So let's start with the biological part. I I had a nice experience during the Protix time, and what I can do for the current industry is I can help you cut your operational cost. I can help you run your operations better, and I can help you design recipes to cut your cost. I can do analysis for you to see how to optimize your production, and that's actually my financial source at this point. I am talking with the Chinese, and the Chinese are too much focused on the waste management. They either like, okay, I want to get rid of this catering waste, I want to get rid of the chicken menu. This year, China's buying fish meal from Peru, right? This year, the Peru fish meal production is half of how it used to be. That's why
Really?
China will find a way to produce more larvae. We are expecting at least 20 to 25% of growth in BSF in China the coming year.
Wow.
How are you going to do that? Then you're going to use molded corn, potato, etc. You're going to make use of anything possible to make that happen. So I'm talking to some of them to say, I'm happy to help you develop diet. And of course, I'm going to earn some money from there. And I think it's important. It's like a missing part of the Chinese BSF industry. And I hope I can help them out. Let's start from there. And then I was saying, like, look, this is a situation. Everybody calls you China, and they think you're a threat, and they don't believe what you produce. I know you developed good systems. It's fascinating. But the thing is, in order to convince people, in order to really make the industry believe in what can be reached, we need to do showcase outside of China. So we want to bring the system that is low in production cost, low in operational energy cost, low in labor cost. And I would like to add up how to do further optimization from like larvae density, uh, like optimizing your nutritional profile from this perspective. And we bring this to build a successful example outside of China. Hopefully, a country that is well recognized by the as the mainstream of the media or the West. And then people know, okay, this really works.
Hmm.
And this industry is full of hope. It's not like everybody is like scamming money, scamming the founders, scamming the investors, and then they go bankrupt in a few years. I think we everybody hears this kind of story nowadays. I want people to know that this is not a story. It's totally possible. We can do it. And I think that's gonna be my major focus in the coming year. And I hope something happen.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for you, isn't it? More so than just kind of standard consulting of giving your expertise and time for cash. So personally for you, that could be great. What's the Chinese government's perception on that from your point of view? Are they actively really trying to push the export of these industrial technologies?
I don't think so. I don't think the Chinese government care about this.
So they, they,
They
they care more for exporting product rather than as
they
in
care
as in
more.
consumable products or even kind of equipment that is already made rather than collaborating with innovation?
Not really. I don't think Chinese government has a big play on this. Otherwise, I might be more careful. I think what's gonna be the priority of the Chinese government now is how do we secure the protein supply inside China, because they
Mm,
need too much protein from outside of China. Let's say if they attack Taiwan now, and everybody's gonna do a sanction like what we did to Russia, who's gonna give us the protein?
mm,
They're gonna have a big question mark there. So the Chinese, they just want to increase the insect production. They wouldn't care about the rest. Feel free to sell your systems to abroad. The Chinese economy is not doing that great at this point. If you can earn some euros, pounds for the storage of the Chinese government, they're gonna be happy about it because they're running out of it. Yeah. So I think we are fine. I really think we are in a safe place.
wow. Ruilong, this is all we've got time for now. My mind is ready to explode. We've covered a lot of ground here, and we're talking into sort of deep mindsets of Chinese government as well as technical details of nutrition, engineering, what's going on in the Chinese market. I really liked what you were talking about with the tour and all of the visits to the different factories. And actually, this could be a blueprint for other countries going to. I got when I was in East Africa and well, all over the world, but East Africa particularly, I saw lots of different places and learned so much from what they're doing. And I think I'd like to personally do a bit of a tour of the UK as well at some point. Perhaps could open it up to international as well. Whoever wants to come. But I think that could be a really, really good platform to work from for the industry in terms of knowledge sharing and collaboration. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I would just like to before I say goodbye to you, Ruilong, um, something about my podcast and say that I'm learning a lot about all of the different people and also my style of questioning. So I'd like to talk to my guests and ask them whether they would want to recommend guests or whether they want to put their own names forward in terms of being a guest on my podcast. It's an open door policy, and I would like to learn more from more different people. So if you are out there and you would like to be on the podcast or you know someone, then please get in touch. But other than that, Ruilong, if there's is there anything else that you'd like to add that I've missed for the podcast?
Well, first of all, let's allow me to show my appreciation for the podcast and the invite. It's been great, and thanks for offering me a platform to show my voices because I want people to hear the voices. And I think I could definitely recommend some people who, like, if you think the Chinese topic is interesting, like for sure I can find some other English speaking Chinese, like for example Long Zheng or people like that to do a podcast
Absolutely,
with.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I believe in a few months or something, I can update you with more information, and I can have more to put on the table for people to understand how everything is. I assume we would have the second episode with me and you, or maybe we can even do a group podcast with me and a few other nice gentlemen, ladies. Um, I think I don't have anything to add up to this conversation, and I'm looking forward to the development of the podcast, the development of the platform, the development of the future industry, and what's gonna be for all of us. That's it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much for coming on. Um, I'm gonna I'll delete this bit what I'm saying now, but I'm gonna
Thank you
add
so much.
because what I said before was it was good, but it was crap. Um, and so if you are a oh shit, hang on.
Take a breeze.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you are a guest shit, sorry. What am I trying to say here? It's late.
It's Friday. I mean, I
Yes.
took 1 hour nap before I come to the podcast.
Oh,
That's why.
top man, good stuff. That's what we like to hear. Um,
Mhm.
Now, if you're really enjoying this podcast, and you think that you'll be able to tell me something new or tell me something about something innovative that you're doing, then please reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, David Tavernor, or you can email me at david@flytofeed.com. That's fly number 2 feed.com. I'd love to have you on my podcast, or if you know someone who you really like to recommend on the podcast, then please, please, please reach out and we can get them on, because this podcast is all about knowledge sharing. It's all about shining a light into the industry as to what's actually happening. So I wouldn't be able to do that without all of my brilliant guests like Ruilong here as well. So that would be great if you could reach out. But overall, hope you are enjoying the podcast so far. I am, and if you are, give it a like, give it a follow, and give it that 5 stars too. Ruilong, thanks very much for being on the podcast, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, David. See you next time.